This is the only way for him to establish dominance. Lionesses sometimes try to exist, but the invader acts selectively, targeting dens where there are either no lionesses or just one. Since the male is about twice the size of the female, she cannot protect her offspring alone. But here's a completely different situation. The conqueror miscalculated and encountered lionesses who were collectively defending their cubs. Dealing with these enraged mothers is a big mistake. The male is very powerful, but the lioness's fury makes him falter and retreat. 3 lionesses immediately launch an attack on the lone male. The intimidating sound of their roars echoes across the savannah as the heavyweight lionesses exchange devastating blows. Then the remaining lionesses join the brawl. The lion can't resist. They surround and overpower him. Whenever he tries to counterattack, one of the lionesses attacks him from behind. He must retreat now. The lion cubs are safe. Hopefully this remains the case. Lionesses can't constantly guard the cubs. Either their father will return to protect the cubs while the lionesses hunt, or they'll have to deal with this male while they still have numerical superiority. Not always does maternal courage yield the results we hope for. This rabbit mother couldn't make it in time to save her little ones. But as Tony Stark once said, if we can't protect, we'll avenge. Apparently, this rabbit is a fan. She, on her own, attacks the venomous snake after the reptile ravages her burrow. And you know, the reptile definitely regretted its choice of victim, because the fighting skills of this rabbit would impress even a seasoned bulldog. The long-eared fighter battles incredibly desperate, constantly dodging the snake's strikes, striking with paws, gripping with jaws. A rodent is not adapted for such battles, but it uses its entire arsenal to the fullest. Paws scratch the snake's delicate skin. Teeth accustomed to grinding hard vegetation inflict even more damage on the reptile. In the end, the snake quickly retreats from the rabbit's territory, but the rabbit does not stop, and even as the reptile withdraws. The rabbit prolongs the fight, attempting to deal with the snake. Unfortunately, it all happened the other way around. The female received a bite from the venomous fangs, and the toxin will stop her heart in less than a minute. However, the surviving little rabbits must have remained in the burrow alive. The snake will never dare to approach them again. Among birds, many are excellent mothers, but ducks are particularly impressive. These birds may look like ordinary, cute, harmless feathered creatures, not armed with sharp beaks or powerful claws. Calmly swimming with their ducklings, scooping water with their little funny feet. However, underestimating a mother duck was not a wise choice. She bravely shielded the ducklings with her own body. The duck received a painful bite on her tail, but she went for this sacrifice quite wisely. While the aggressor pecked her, the female attacked from below, into the soft belly. For the protection of the ducklings, who all turned out to be safe, the duck was ready to gut that goose. Fortunately, it didn't come to that. Although the goose displaced the duck family, not a single chick of the brave mother was harmed. As in this case, the duck timely noticed the heron, which approached too close to her ducklings. Think herons are harmless frog catchers? Not quite. These birds catch anything with their sword-like beaks as long as the size is suitable for swallowing the prey whole. Probably the duck knew not to trust the heron. But instead of just keeping an eye on the potential threat, she decided to deliver a preemptive strike. The heron didn't expect that. The duck didn't just hiss and threaten. She rose on her wings and attacked the more massive opponent from the air. The heron had to retreat, and the duck kept chasing it until it left the water. However, seagulls usually pose a much greater threat to ducklings. These feathered robbers aggressively attack any potential prey. But ducks have learned to resist them quite well using one weapon: lightning-fast reactions. You see a family of ducklings peacefully feeding on the bread thrown to them. By the way, never feed birds with bread. Such food seems tasty to them and they eat it with pleasure, but in a bird's stomach, bread does not really digest but swells, causing very serious problems. However, this seagull thought that she would become a serious problem for the duck, and that wasn't the case. The white aggressor underestimated the duck's reaction speed. As soon as its wings flashed near the ducklings, the female immediately went into action. She attacked the opponent with her beak and tried to drown it. The seagull did not expect this turn of events. This is not a unique case. This seagull immediately regretted attacking the ducklings. Perhaps if she had attacked the duck itself, the outcome would have been much different. But for the protection of the little ones, a genuine bloodthirsty monster awakens in the duck. She isn't satisfied with just defending. She wants to teach all seagulls a lesson through this one. Let them know what will happen if they ever attack her ducklings. So, with unstoppable rage, the duck not only attacks the seagull with her beak, but also with her wings. Powerful blows stun the seagull, but this is not the end, just the beginning. The duck simply drowns the opponent. She relentlessly pecks the seagull's head and submerges the enemy's beak underwater, not allowing it to escape, take flight, or even breathe. The aggressive assault yields results. The seagull can't offer any resistance to the duck, although it's a larger bird. An inglorious end to the career of this white-winged hunter. But perhaps other seagulls witnessing this ordeal will remember that attacking ducklings is way too perilous. But the pinnacle of paternal devotion in the avian world is how ordinary domestic birds protect their chicks from incredibly dangerous and terrifying enemies. Cobras. There are several known cases, but this one is probably the most epic because the snake caught the bird family in a hopeless situation. A dead-end corner with windows too high, no way out. A trap. That's what this venomous cobra probably thought. A snake that can bring down an elephant with one bite. Yeah, indeed it's a trap. Just not for the birds, but for the reptile itself. Because when the mother noticed that her offspring was in danger, she didn't care who was in front of her. A venomous cobra, a tiger, or an alien monster. The bird went on the attack, and you gotta agree, this looks epic. She not only didn't flee, but threw herself into battle against the snake. The feathery defender knew that aggression was the only way out of this situation. She pushed her offspring into the corner, shielded them with her body, then fluffed up her feathers and went into battle. Although the beak and claws of this domestic bird aren't as impressive as the arsenal of some bird of prey, this weapon turned out to be sufficient to deliver an unforgettable thrashing to the cobra. The snake tries to bite the bird again and again, but the reflexes of her heroine prove to be lightning fast. Mongooses would envy such speed. The bird dodges each strike, but most importantly, immediately goes on the counterattack, striking the snake's head and body with such force that the predatory reptile already regretted invading here. Just look, it straightens its hood, meaning it perceives the bird not as prey, but as a threat to itself. The cobra never stops attacking, attempting to snatch at least one chick. But all its attempts are in vain. The domestic bird turns into a whirlwind of fury, and her defense is more reliable than a stone wall. Several times the poisonous fangs flash in dangerous proximity to the defender's flesh, but her raised feathers save her. The fangs slide off them, causing no harm to the bird. Meanwhile, her claws and beak maim the snake and trample it into the dust. As a result, all the chicks were saved, and the reptile was driven away, never to crawl back here ever again. Comparing birds of prey with real fighter planes is not just praise for birds. After all, these creatures are capable of many aerobatics. Pay attention to this hunt, which caught the lens in 2022. Here, the birds demonstrate amazing agility, but the predator wins thanks to virtuoso maneuverability. He performs something like a half barrel, a 180-degree turn so that the wings are directly strictly up and down. At the same time, if the aircraft uses a maneuver for protection in order to get away from the missile, then the bird, on the contrary, in order to attack the target more successfully. At the same time, the predator grabbed the victim only tangentially, so she fights back, even being in the claws of a formidable enemy. We must pay tribute to this brave bird. It will fight for survival until the very end. And although her injuries would hardly have allowed her to fly if she had managed to escape from the grip, she still struggled. And who are you rooting for in this situation? Let us know in the comments. In any case, the bird of prey admires its bravery no less. After all, she did not slow down and used her beak at full speed right in flight. That is, for some time she flew blindly at great speed, risking crashing into rocks. At the same time, when a bird strikes with its claws, the feathers of the victim fly around like some kind of strange fan. And all because of the huge force that the predator puts into each throw. Even if the prey has time to react at the last moment, turns around and meets the enemy with its own claws, this will not slow down our hero, not for 1 second. It suppresses the prey's resistance in an instant. But even knowing the flying skills of falcons and eagles, it is difficult to understand how confident they feel in the air. It seems as if they are not afraid of falling whatsoever. Here, a peregrine falcon attacked another to take away its prey. At the same time, there was no brutal fight. The duel was surprisingly elegant. This duel could be filmed in 2022, and she could win the final competition for the most honest dogfight in the world. It would be much easier to attack the opponent from above. But instead, the falcon flew up to the competitor from below, made a barrel right in flight, hovering with its paws up. In this position, he carefully grabbed the prey right in the paws of the opponent. As a result, 2 birds lost their balance. For most birds, this would have been a fatal ending, but these falcons spent less than a second to restore flight. And then they flew together, competing in the tug of prey. Pay attention that they do not try to hit each other with either claws or beaks. Why do you think these birds are so noble with each other? Is this an instinctive behavior or a character trait of these individuals? Share your opinion in the comments. Amazing solidarity and honor, which does not negate their commitment at all. Both peregrine falcons risk themselves, but try to keep their prey until the last. Human pilots on their fighters can fly at a speed several times faster than the speed of sound. But they are far from the freedom that these birds know. At the same time, both birds not only survived, but maintained good neighborly relations. One of them unhooked in time, leaving the winner lunch. But with prey, birds of prey do not play chivalrous behavior. Here you can see how parents feed their offspring. Their nest is safely hidden in the thickets. The kids scream and open their mouths as wide as possible to be the first to receive a treat from their parents. But the family ideal is violated by a predator who has found the prey's lair. Parents are not around, they cannot cope with such a threat and had to run. For a carnivorous feathered, this is a real gift. He just takes one of the chicks and takes it to his nest. A light snack for the capture of which almost no effort was spent. If there was such an opportunity, would you intervene in this situation? Answer in the comments. And this duel is one of the coolest aerial duels between a bird of prey that has only been caught in the camera lens lately. The golden eagle is one of the largest and most powerful birds. And for him, even the black vulture is not a fellow, but a potential prey. However, although the golden eagle wants to eat this feathered one, it does not attack it like a defenseless goose. The golden eagle is going on a frontal attack. He flies straight at the opponent and gives him a chance to put his clawed paws forward. What is this, if not the nobility of a real warrior? A powerful blow occurs and both birds collide like two air rams. And then, the golden eagle hit the opponent with a wing from a turn, like a master of some bird martial arts. But the vulture did not lose his balance, the opponents uncoupled. Both survived this fight, which was too close to the ground to continue. True golden eagles are not always so noble. This bird just brushed away the falcon with one lightning strike. So, it's worth remembering, there are always sharper claws and stronger wings. When an eagle knocks down a victim and forces her to ride on rocky ledges, it's spectacular. But in the arsenal of the bird, there are also more impressive techniques for using gravity for their own purposes. Really huge eagles can lift even a fawn or a kid into the air, into a huge height. Then the bird simply releases the prey, and she flies from the height of the 10th floor with a completely predictable ending. The feathered one can only go down and start eating or take the remains of the prey to his nest. This way, it is possible to significantly save energy. The wingspan of some birds of prey can reach 6 or even 6.5 feet, 1.8 or even 2 meters. So it can show that these are massive creatures. They are powerful, but in fact much lighter than it seems. Eagles are 3 or 4 times lighter than wolves, which are comparable to birds in size. So a mountain goat is 5 times heavier than a feathered one. It is difficult to cope with such an opponent. An eagle can cling to him and literally ride him. But in order to defeat the prey faster and more reliably, you have to push it off the cliff. Then you can strike a few powerful blows on the rocks and then throw them into the abyss, if there are no other options. This confrontation looks brutal and epic, especially since the bird is also at risk. She is too close to the ground and will have no time to climb on the wing if the prey can drag him along. But usually this does not happen. Eagles are too experienced and strong predators. Nevertheless, even if a large eagle is crushed to a stone, its bones can withstand such a powerful blow. Look, an eagle saddled a mountain goat. The ungulate in a panic tries to escape along the edge, and the feathered one throws it off balance so that the prey simply breaks when falling from such a steep slope. But instead, the goat hits the rock along with the eagle. Do you think that the bird crashed or turned into a flat pancake like a cartoon character on whom a weight fell? As if not so. The eagle not only survived, but did not even loosen its grip. Of course, due to the relatively small mass, eagles are almost vulnerable, especially on Earth when they are attacked by large predators. The mass of a brown bear can reach half a ton or even more. In fact, the bear has a 100-fold advantage over the eagle. It's like as if a person tried to beat an elephant hand-to-hand. When the female discovered the nest of eagles, she was not afraid to bring her cubs with her for lunch. She was so sure of victory. Even the sharp claws of a feathered bird cannot save the chicks when they are attacked by this mountain of muscles. It is not surprising that eagles do not like bears and can even attack them for no apparent reason. Who knows, maybe a winged predator slapped a bear in revenge for old grievances. However, the eagle may be strong enough to fight back the lioness. Unusual tactics and cunning are used for this. The bird spreads its wings wide. It is too heavy to instantly take off to a great height. If she tries this, the lioness will have time to catch her pouncing from behind. It seems that the feathered creature understands this and does not try to rise into the air. Instead, the eagle spreads its wings on the lioness. So, the bird seems much bigger and does not allow itself to be attacked from the flanks. Of course, paw strikes could crush the wings in a second, but the lioness does not know this. In addition, the eagle rises above the ground enough to get its claws into the enemy. And the cat does not need extra damage. As a result, the